Hello and welcome to another episode of One Kick from Glory. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Of course, I'm joined by Craig right in front of me, and I've got Matthew over to my right.
Hello there.
So today we're going to just have a quick recap of the first games, the start of this brand new season. Starting off with you, Matthew, what was your impressions of the weekend's games?
Good to be back. Good to be back. I thought starting with my game. Well, just not to be biased, starting with our game. Could not have made a better start. Very impressed with what I saw, even without saying, with all the Lukaku things lurking around. I think everyone's really excited and is happy to be back. What a performance from the boys. Fantastic performance. Great goals from Alonso, Pulisic, and particularly for Trevor Chalobah, showing how much it means to him. The fans there celebrating. Couldn't happy when the team started against Crystal Palace. It was not to sound too big headed, but the victory was kind of coming. It was a case of how was it be a 1 or 2 or 3 kind of scoreline. So I'm very happy. And other games as well. So many other games. And goals. We got goals, which I know is something you wanted. We got lots and lots of goals all the way through. Some exciting games. I think there were more exciting games than there were like dry games in a way. So, but first weekend back so far, so good and great having match of the day back on the schedule as well. So, yeah, I'm happy with my start, positive start to the season. So yeah, very happy.
No, I was quite happy with that, and I think that's one of the key things is just that entertainment factor is maintained throughout the season. Now, of course, for you, Craig, it's been an interesting start to the year. We all had our different predictions as to how things were going to go. What was a game that you'd say? How did you take, this open to the season?
I felt like it was a good weekend. Well, not for Arsenal, but other teams. It was good. It was good to have the fans back as well. I thought that the best game I think I saw over the weekend was the Newcastle West Ham game. For goals, quality, everything. And the Chelsea game as well. I like how the young kid Chalobah scored that goal and how emotional he was after. Because obviously he's been at Chelsea a long time and now he's finally getting his opportunities to play in the first team and he's taking it with both hands.
Okay, let's start with the Chelsea game. Matthew, you're here. So far, you'd say so far so good. The most important thing in a season is to start with a win. Start with a very comfortable and assured performance. Looking at how the game went for you guys against Crystal Palace at home, what would you say was your kind of takeaway and your standout thoughts on that match?
We mean business, and just how professional and how we barely had. I don't think Palace had really much of a look in any kind of thing they had that it was kind of nullified. And they made a lot of signings. A couple of players that come from Chelsea, they've still got their, like people like Zaha. They've lost players, I think like Townsend, but they've still got players who can kind of double up and take on that position. So it could have gone another way, but I'm happy that it didn't. I think I saw that side as where if it was always one thing that bothered me, it's one little thing about a niggly thing about Tuchel was that sometimes we get to a 2-goal lead and we'll sit. But this time I saw, we got 3, could have got maybe 4 or more. See, goals. Kill the game. Take it away from them, give them no kind of chance. One thing I took away was just how enthusiastic we were. I think having the fans back is the 12th man does make a lot of difference, and hearing them, knowing that they're cheering you on, giving that kind of encouragement, and just that kind of noise is such a nice thing to hear and such a nice thing to see. It's so nice to see people back in the ground again, back in the bridge, get it back to being the fortress that it was for so many years. Very good, very ruthless kind of start. Let's see that continue, throughout the season. And bear in mind also some players that didn't even play on Saturday or start or get off the bench. Strength in depth. Got, put it this way, after the Super Cup when we subbed Kepa on for Mendy, we've got £77 million goalkeeper on our bench who's still our number one. Let's put that into perspective now. So,
well, I mean, he has the jersey, but he's definitely not first choice.
He's not. I think Tuchel's made that very, very clear. If you want, note to anyone out there, if you want to see Chelsea fans stressed, just see the following words: Kepa to start in goal. If you want to see Chelsea fans stressed, no disrespect to the man, he's clearly good, and he was one of the big reasons why he won the Super Cup. But season a bit, it was shaky. When he first came, he was great. But there's kind of shake there, but still, he's on our bench for crying out loud. I mean, I can't really say much better than that. So, yeah, I'm very pleased. And I want to see that continue on Sunday at the Emirates as well. So, up Chelsea.
I mean, that's going to be a big game on Sunday, and we're going to touch on previews for the upcoming weekend's games in a bit. And I guess touching on that notion of like squad depth and the players that weren't available or didn't play. Of course, you had just signed Lukaku, so he wasn't going to be part of that list, but he didn't play. Kante didn't play. CH didn't play. Chilwell or Havertz. So looking at those players, Craig, looking at what Chelsea, I guess the ambitions, the targets they've set for this year, and you think about those players who haven't played and the fact that they could come in and shake things up if they're struggling, what would you say then that impact that's going to have for Chelsea going forward?
They'll definitely challenge because they've got strength and depth in their squad, and I feel personally that that obviously it's all with big clubs you always have to have two players for a position, and Chelsea got all that in abundance. And I feel that this season, now they've got Lukaku up front, and they can even play Werner up front. They can play Havertz in the number 9 role. So they've got some decent players. And I feel if they don't challenge, they have to challenge this season. And I think they're going for the Premier League, and they want the Champions League again.
And I guess looking at again the game as a whole, Matthew, would you say that how Crystal Palace approached it would you think it was quite naive in how they tried to play against you guys, considering it's the first game of the season, away from home, you're the the European Super League Cup champions. Well, it's not Super League because that's not bad. But you won the Super Cup.
Yeah.
You're the champions of Europe. Do you think that they came too open?
I don't know if they, and I could be wrong. I don't think they expected too much because they've just lost their manager, Roy Hodgson, who was there for a while, who was good for them. He actually did quite good. They played some good football, some good young talented players. Bear in mind, they got players missing. Eze is a big miss. And Patrick Vieira stepped in. He hasn't had a massive amount of time. Yes, he's got players, but to kind of figure out what he wants. It was from their point of view. If I was a Palace fan, I think it's a case of, oh, what a great place to start. Brentford's the next game. I think they should be better because they are more Premier League experienced. They've got more experienced players, and they do have a talisman there in Zaha that can make a difference. And like I said before, Eze still yet to come back. And it's their first game. I'll be more worried if this was my 30th game. I'll be more worried if it was a 30th game. I'm doing this 8 games to go, squeaky bum time sort of thing. I would be like, well, not to say we don't go in and try and win, but the likelihood is less. So I'll probably be, for Palace, I think it's an approach of let's just see what we're kind of working with, really. I think I watched one of the interviews with Patrick Vieira, and that's exactly what he said, and I agree with that, where he goes, we'll see what we've got. We've got good players. First game in, we're playing the European, Super Cup champions. It was always going to be a mountain to climb if we were going to get anything from the game. So give it, seeing as he's such a new manager in the Premier League, I'll give it 3 or 4 games. 5th game, if they still are where they are, I'd be worried then. But give it time. It'll be okay.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think that's the best way to look at it, because it is going to be a long season, and it's all about the patterns you have as you go over time. So let's switch over to the next game. Craig said it was quite interesting for him and exciting. Was, of course, West Ham, Newcastle. Newcastle unveiled Joe Willock as the newest signing. We were debating about this afterwards, that it was a good or a bad thing for Arsenal to let him go. So I'll start there. What do you think about that transfer?
To be honest with you, he's a goal scorer midfielder. We don't have that in our team at the moment. Currently, we don't have that in our team, and I feel that if Arsenal don't buy a replacement to replace him, then we're going to struggle. It's been shown before when you don't when we lost Ramsey, we lost Wilshere, we never replaced them properly, and because of that, and Ozil as well, for example, we struggled to score goals last season, and this season the same thing again. So I feel like if we had kept Willock if we didn't buy anybody else, then he's got good potential to become an even better player. So I would love to see them given a chance.
I mean, I think that's a fair point. I guess the only counter argument I would give is that with the system that we're currently playing, I don't see where he would have fit, because he's not really a two, a midfielder for a two, and he's not really a number 10 either. He's one for a three. And I know that's a system Arteta has said in the past that he wants to move to, but until that point, it makes sense with the other business Arsenal allegedly want to do. It's all allegedly because we're waiting. That makes sense why they did it. But I guess for you, your point of view, Matthew, because with Chelsea, you're very good at selling players and moving players on, and sort of you've made some mistakes, but it never seems to have hampered your overall progress as a club. So what's your take on that transfer of Willock to Newcastle?
For him, if I was in his position, it makes sense. If you saw the loan spell he had towards Newcastle second half of the season, he was great. I think he was instrumental in their survival. Had a lot of important games where you need a player like that who can just come up with something, and something not necessarily something special, but someone that can just dig something out of the dirt a little bit. I think he was one of the principal reasons of them staying up. And as much as I don't rate the guy too much, Steve Bruce is an experienced manager who's been around at that kind of level of club for a very, very long time. So he's someone who's been around enough to be like, let's nurture this young, because he's 21, Joe Willock, 21, 22. He's young. He's got years ahead of him. And an experienced coach, even if it is, not to be disrespectful to the man, but even if it is someone like Steve Bruce, cannot be a bad thing. And the thing is with Newcastle, they actually have some good players around them. He's got Sam Maximan, and he's got Callum Wilson behind him. They still have Ryan Fraser. I think they still have Ryan Fraser, who used to be at Bournemouth. And then again, another decent player. They've got good players, Newcastle. It's just again getting them to kind of play together and just play some kind of exciting football. I think that's not a big ask to have. He's at and what was once a sleeping giant in Newcastle. And he could be. I'm not saying to be solely him to be the driving force to bring the club back up to where they kind of want to be, but they could finish higher with him because they finished. Was it 15th last year? Or they finished somewhere where they don't need to finish. I think 10th is a good kind of start, or 10th or 11th or something. I don't know. I mean, I think if I was him, I'll be more than happy with what I've done, because a guaranteed starter. I just think for Arsenal, as good as player he can be, he's not what you need. I think he needs someone who's gonna be have a bit more. Not a better player, but a more rounded player in that kind of. I just think at Arsenal, there's too much pressure for a young lad like him. So he's made the right choice.
I think that's a good point. And I guess looking at that match as a whole, between the two teams, these are two teams that would want to do a lot better than last season. West Ham have invested in, they've kept the core of the players they'd brought into last season. They've gotten a lot of players back fit again. Lanzini, I know, played a game on Monday, like a behind closed doors game, and played really well. No, actually played against Arsenal on the 23s and they battered us, but he played really well. So that match in particular, West Ham Newcastle, you see West Ham ended up winning 4-2 away from home. Open day of the season, they would be looking now to push on and look at Europe as a potential target for the season. What would you say, looking at what they did at the back end of last season and also looking at how this game played out? Because you said it was a good game for you, Craig. Mm-hmm. What would you say was your kind of thoughts on West Ham United as a whole?
I'll say the way how they came back from, I think they were 2-1 down, or was it? I think they were 2-1
down.
Yeah. 2-1 down, and they came back. I think their togetherness, and they never panicked. They were very like, okay, we're losing, but we're going to come back. We know we've got the players, they've got the potential to get back into the game and win the game. And I feel that with David Moyes, I know he didn't have a good spell at United, but I think every other club he's been to after United, he's done well. And I think he's done well at West Ham. This is his second spell at West Ham, he's done well. And I think the recruitment that he's done on buying the players, it's good recruitment on players. He bought Ben Rama from Brentford, and he got the Jared Bowen, who was a championship player at Hull. So I think he's recruited very well. The midfielder they played against England in the Euros, Souček's a good player. And I think he got the Areola guy from PSG. He played well for Fulham last season. So I think he's bought well. And I think Jesse Lingard was the benchmark last season. He bringing him in as uplifted spirits, and he still got Declan Rice in his team, and he still got the experience of Mark Noble, who's still the club captain. So his experience in the team is helping the players with the experience of being at West Ham, know how the West Ham way, and how to play, and just to get the best out of the players, the team. Yeah.
No, I think that's a good observation to make there, and I guess, talking about West Ham and players they had last season, we were discussing about Jesse Lingard, and we'll touch on Man United in a second and how well they've done this season. But looking at his situation at Man United, because it's a lot of competition to get into the team. We've got people like Van der Beek, who doesn't really get a look in. Of course, Pogba is still there, playing really well, brilliant performance, and we'll touch on that in a second. Of course, you've got Fernandes, who owns that number 10 position. With Lingard, do you not think realistically he should consider going back to West Ham? And I'll touch on that with you, Matthew.
Yes. Yes. One word, simple, yes. Your time is done. He's not a young guy anymore. Like, he's 28, 29. I know he's a Man United, he's academy graduate, and he kind of broke onto a scene. It doesn't feel that long ago when he broke onto the scene, and was doing really well, and he did well at the World Cup. But yeah, he's not a young man anymore. The competition has grown, and even though, like I said last time, the main problem of Solskjaer is their manager winning a big trophy, the players they've got and the money they've spent, they have to be they should be where they are. And the people ahead of him, they're going to start ahead of you, my friend. They really are. Like you said, Bruno Fernandes got a hat-trick on the opening day. Pogba, 4 assists. They've also, let's not even forget about Jadon Sancho being there as well. And Donny van der Beek, who didn't get that much of a look in, but he's got to be a good player. From what we've seen, he is a good player. And after all, this is Manchester United. There's that thing of being at the theatre of dreams in Old Trafford, where players can just sometimes they're one of those clubs that can just annoyingly can just turn around on a dime. And look, players like him, who else was there? Chris Smalling, who moved on, Phil Jones, who should move on. He should do the same, and I think he found his very sweet spot at West Ham. He's clearly still a good player. But is he a good Man United player anymore? Probably not. And if those mentioned players, bear in mind there's still players we haven't even mentioned yet, if those players carry on the form for the season, if they stay consistent, he's definitely not going to get a look in. So yes, absolutely, he should go. He'll still be in Europe after all, and he's going to be a club moving in the right direction. Craig mentioned before with David Moyes, people seem to forget his stint at Everton that he had for best part of nearly 11 years. A fantastic manager for them, getting them got to finish in the top 4, mostly consistent finishes in the top 10 of the Premier League, not getting relegated. Because I know when he came, they weren't in the best of positions. He's got, again, Moyes, he's still a good manager. He's still got experience on his side. It could be at worse places. Playing on every Thursday night is not a bad thing. And yeah, like I said, West Ham are moving in the right direction. Absolutely moving in the right direction. So yes, absolutely, you should go.
What do you think, Craig? Like looking at how West Ham played at the weekend, what would you say? Because he wasn't in the Man United squad at all for this first game. I don't know if he has an injury or if it's a fitness thing, but that's realistically he might struggle to get minutes this season. So what would you say he should do?
I personally agree with Matthew. I think he should leave Man United. I know he's a Man United boy through and through and he wants to stay there, but I feel he played well at West Ham last year. The fans love him at West Ham. And I think if he came back to West Ham, the fans will give him that a push. I know they'll adore him there because he did well. He scored how many goals? I think he scored 8 goals.
He scored 8 goals.
8 goals, and I don't know how many games, but he scored 8 goals, and he was scoring every week, and the team were doing well. And I feel that if West Ham want to go their next level, if they got the qualify for Europa League, if they want to go Champions League, they will need someone like Jesse Lingard in their squad, and they need to be consistent. And I feel he will bring the best out of that team. He did it last season consistently, so I feel that if I was him in his shoes, I would leave. I know he's a Man United boy through and through, and he want to stay because of but I feel, my honest opinion, I think he should leave Man United.
And I guess shifting the focus from Champions League to Europa League to Champions League, and of course talking about that Man United game, 5-1, Pogba gets 4 assists. It's not been done for a while in the Premier League. Fernandes gets a hat-trick, None of them are penalties. That's a miracle. They look very, very tasty. So over to you, Matthew. Looking at the way things are sizing up, it's only one game. It is Leeds. Leeds play a very open, progressive, attacking style of football. They don't really change and adapt for the opposition. So that's one of those things you look at, I guess, with similar to with what happened with Crystal Palace. You could say, should you adapt a bit more? But we'll put that to one side for a second. They are looking like they might be a problem this season.
As they should. As they should. This is, I think, the kind of thing we've expected from Man. This is kind of what we expect from Man United in the first place. And all the money they've spent over the years, splashing out for players like Pogba, like Maguire, like Donny van der Beek, and now for recently Varane and for Jadon Sancho, they're meant to be here. They're meant to be. We shouldn't be surprised. After all, you're talking about probably the most successful team in English football. Absolutely, they should be here. And now, it looks like, and he said Leeds play what I like to call expansive, chaotic football, because next weekend probably won't be like this. My dad's a Leeds fan, so he didn't want to talk about this whole thing because they just do an absolute madness. But it's still 5 goals. Take nothing away from them. They still had to go ahead and do it. Bruno Fernandes is looking like he's only going to get better. None of them are penalties, like you said. Pogba getting 4 assists, and there's some mention about Mason Greenwood as well, who unfortunately didn't make it to the Euros, but another young prospect. Watch out for him. Don't forget about him just because he didn't go. But yeah, they could be a problem. They could be an absolute problem. They are Manchester United after all. Don't write them off. But I just want to touch on something different about that whole thing. I don't know if you guys saw about the whole after the game. I think it was on Sunday before or after Newcastle. I didn't see the games because I was away. Them talking about the thing with Harry Kane and Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm not going to go too in depth from it, but this has been something that's been bothering me for a very, very, very long time. And that's his thing against Pogba. I just think he could blame bad weather or a bad train or a bad steak on Pogba. It just seems to be, he has it in for him. I'm just like, what? And I was talking about this yesterday with some friends. It's like, is it the culture of football that you just don't like about him? Is it the culture? Because the ones that are mentioning about him are the ones that come from that old-fashioned kind of way of football that was fun to talk about, but I think we're trying to leave because I think it represents a lot of problems in the future. Pogba, he's different. He always has his hair looking good, his clothes looking good. He's into his fashion, he's into his music, but he can still throw down on the pitch. And, he's not one of them ones who's going to try and square up and start a thing like them players were. He's much more, he's calmer. He's calmer than that. He's got a thing to, he's like a brand almost. He's a brand. I just think, is it the culture that you just don't like? Because you pick on him for anything and everything. But Kane's all right.
Yeah, I think the with the Pogba, just the press against him, which I personally don't like, and I think it's unfair, it's biased, and you could. I think there are elements of it where I think these broadcasters need to, the likes of Neville, the likes of Souness, I think they need to take a long, hard look and really evaluate the narrative they're pushing onto a player, because it's these kind of things that feel. These are the kind of things that are a factor in fueling people sending racial hate to players. Now, I'm not saying that what they're doing is racially motivated. I'm not accusing them of that. What I am saying is that it is you're playing off biases, because they clearly have a preconceived notion of what Pogba is as a player, which is not accurate to any club or any manager or even any teammate that's worked with him. Even the whole Mourinho bust up thing. Mourinho is known to be a difficult character and is known to want to push and prod players, and that's his way of getting the best out of them. You got players like Ibrahimovic who loved it, Eto'o who loved it because it makes you go to another level, and you got other players who can't handle it.
Sure didn't.
Shy away. Sure didn't. Shy away. So, there's just been this, and let's be honest, Harry Kane's on strike.
He is on strike.
I mean, you could argue that, okay, it was a confusion of the holiday thing because he was in the Caribbean and you have to quarantine, but why would your club not know your plans? Why would they come out and fine you? And why is it all now being taken as hush-hush? And how can you say Harry Kane's a saint? The whole agent thing, Raiola is his own man. No one can tell Raiola to stop speaking, don't talk, whatever. Raiola will do what is good for his business. And at the end of the day, he has a client who he knows is very highly valued, and he's probably looking at it and thinking, Man United don't value him that highly. Objectively, right?
Yeah.
Some fans do, some fans don't. English football don't respect Pogba for what he is, really. Because when it comes down to it, he's one of the best 5 midfielders in the league. And that's not up for debate.
No.
He is.
He is.
And you could argue on his day, he is number one.
He is.
Him, De Bruyne, they'll have weeks when they'll be interchanging. At the World Cup, the game when France got knocked out against Switzerland, that goal he scored.
Wow.
I mean, come on.
Wow.
It's just like
disgusting.
how many players in world football have the confidence, the technique, and the boldness to just do that? Not many. Some players will see that shot and think, "Nah, I'm not even going to try
I'm
it."
gonna pass it
Probably
or
didn't need to think about it. Shift out of his foot, bang. And we know when he got the ball, I thought he's going to do it, isn't he?
Yeah.
When he rolled the play, I thought, nah, he's got too much space here. Drops it in top corner, no problem. So that's what he can do, and that's I think the coverage that the media are putting on him is not fair, and in light of this whole Hurricane situation, it is really, really not fair. Pogba has never once done anything to show you that he's disrespectful to the club. He has an issue with the management in a way where you could say he has a bad character. Not at all. And you're right to bring it up, and it is something that is these journalists have a responsibility to be impartial. And Micah Richards was right to call him out on it. Souness's behaviour of walking away from him was out of order. Gary Neville trying to say it's not what you're saying it is. Based on what? There's no evidence to support your position. So if they have a problem with Pogba, they should just say we don't like him and say why. And let's just be honest about it. Because what has the guy done for you not to like him?
Yeah, it's fine. Just say, just be true. Just say it, because we can all feel it in the room. A certain pundit will have a bias towards a certain player and a disdain against another. So you can go back as far as say with Andy Gray. Andy Gray would love Steven Gerrard, but he dislikes someone else. And a lot of pundits and managers will have a thing against Rooney. For Rooney, for his case. But just, I don't know, a similar, I hate saying it, a similar foreign European player, I don't know, it might be a problem. So yeah, just it's almost like you should just say it. Like, I don't like this. I don't like how he carries himself, because you're carrying yourself. These players, most of them come from the 80s, when you could get away with certain things, and when football was what it was. But now football's much more cosmopolitan. They're moving stadiums, becoming businesses at the forefront of communities, moving to bigger stadiums, whether it's Tottenham or Brentford. So that aspect, that old school thing of football, which was once, something you could hold dear and hold deep, we've got to kind of move on from it. Because, if you don't believe me, you only have to look at the England team. It's helped leaps and bounds. So yeah, I was thought to touch on it because I had to say something about it.
No, I think it's a good point. And I guess, Craig, what's your kind of view on I think at times the media's coverage of situations of players and how they just seem to pick a side, and there isn't needed a side. I mean, Pogba didn't need to come up in this whole debate at all. At the end of the day, Harry Kane's not trained. Why? That was this discussion point.
So do you want to talk about the Pogba situation, or talk about in general?
I think a bit of both. So I think for you, what would you say, looking at that, this past Sunday's broadcast coverage, and how you had Neville and Souness kind of making Kane out to be some kind of super angel saint, wonderful guy, can do no wrong, and Pogba's a problem.
I've always thought that English players always get the high and mighty praise, and some foreign players always get the bad press if they make a mistake or anything. I always thought that with Souness and Pogba, he's been on his case since he's come back to United all the time, always digging him out. Even Neville as well, always digging him out. To be honest with you, the way how it's going on, they're going to end up forcing Pogba out of England. Pogba's going to want to leave and go to wherever he wants, maybe PSG or Real Madrid. And I think Pogba's one of the best midfielders in the league. For him and De Bruyne. And I think it's not fair that they're always picking on him, because it's bullying. It's a form of bullying. No one's ever thought of that. It's all a form, like, you can't be every week, Pogba has a good game, or he could have done this, he could have done that. But the guy had 4 assists. You get that maybe in lower level football you get 4 assists, but in a big Premier League game you get 4 assists against Leeds. Leeds are a good team. They're not a rubbish team. They're a good team. And for him to get 4 assists in the big start of the season, it shows that Pogba is a consistent player. And I think he's the kind of player that you have to put your arm around him and show him the love that you love him as a player, And I think Ollie's doing that with him. He's putting his arm around him, and previous managers were not doing that. And I feel that with Solskjaer, he's doing that and getting the best out of him. And I feel that if they continue with their biasness against him, then I feel like he's going to want to leave. And then that would be a shame for English football, because English football got most of the top players in the world are playing in England. Compared to other leagues, we've got the top players playing in the Premier League.
No, that's a good point, and I think that is the concern. You want to make sure that the players don't feel like because look, criticism's necessary. You need to call out things when it's wrong, when players don't play well and they don't perform well. And there have been some weeks when he has been inconsistent and he might do things on the ball. He takes risks on the ball because he knows his technical quality is above a certain level. And when it doesn't work out, it's bad. When it does work out, it's great. Like even in the Euros, to cause the equaliser, he tried a little thing in the middle of the park and he just got dispossessed and it kind of broke down from there. But these things happen. It's the nature of the game. Talking about games, let's look at, again, the team I've backed to win the league, Liverpool. Nice, comfortable 3-0 away win against Norwich City. Very strong performance from Salah. Jota showing that my little prediction of his style of play was accurate, and I'm very happy about that. And in fact, if you look at the top of the table right now, you could argue that 3 of the top 4 will stay there. So you've got Man United top, Chelsea second, Liverpool third, and of course Everton are making up the numbers in fourth. You could argue that 3 of those 4 will stay there for the duration of the season, and they'll be part of the final rankings, with the ordering changing depending on who you really love and how consistent they stay. So Liverpool, 3 points. They've got their centre-backs back. They didn't even need to start Konate. What are your views, Matthew, on that, really?
Well, I thought they would beat Norwich anyway. I just think Norwich are that kind of club where it's going to be a yo-yo where up, down, up, down, up, down. But yeah, again, take nothing away from Liverpool. They've still got those very effective players. I know he didn't score. They still got Mane. Salah scored. Firmino scored. Yeah. And yeah, again, Jota is... I don't think it's talked about enough how he was an integral signing. Even last year, he was coming up with important goals. I know that it was got nothing to do with defense, is where the problems were, but those important goals, make the difference. They still managed to get back into the top 4 after it was considered a long time. I didn't think they would. I think they were 9th at one point, or as low as that. They are going to. I mean, it depends on how many other players they're going to buy, but they've still got the top manager in Klopp. He's won the Champions League and Premier League in the last 3 years. So they're not going to get rid of him anytime soon. They got their defenders back. I didn't really. Again, I was sometimes kind of the weekend I was somewhere. I was in a pub that didn't have a TV, which is 2021 is so bizarre. And my phone couldn't stream because I was at a wedding. So it's either go to a wedding or watch the football. The latter didn't work. But watch the highlights, and this could be a case of Liverpool getting that redemption. They are a wounded animal from last year. They were wounded badly. You're losing out on all those players through injuries, and City just can't kind of capitalize. There wasn't anything overly great about their Premier League win last year. They didn't tell me otherwise, because it was just kind of there, but well done to them. But yeah, Liverpool were wounded. They're dangerous. They're angry, almost even embarrassed from what happened, how things went down, losing certain games, especially at Anfield. And I think they're angry, and they want revenge. So I think I didn't consider it when I was doing my predictions, but they're definitely one of the teams up there to watch for when they win the league, because I think we almost forget how dangerous they were when they did win the league. They were a different creature, they were a different animal. So if they do get another, even without another signing, the team cohesion is back now. They do have players like, especially at Van Dijk, a massive presence like Van Dijk. So I think you're right from last season. I might jump on that bandwagon. So watch this space about them. They're on the comeback trail. It's like Brock Lesnar returning to WWE. I'm mad them coming to get it. So yeah.
So yeah, I think that was quite exciting. Did you catch much of that game, Craig? Liverpool.
Yeah, I saw the highlights.
The highlights of it.
Yeah.
What would you say, like looking at how they performed? Obviously, getting those 3 goals, nice spread across the minutes of the goals, 26th minute and 65th and 74th. Watching back the highlights, looking at how they performed, do you think that they've gone up a gear, or do you feel like they've gone back to how they were playing the previous season?
I feel that they've gone up a gear. I think they've gone up a gear to the season when they won the league. Okay. I feel that because Van Dijk is like a new signing to them. Van Dijk's like an 8 million signing to a brand new signing. Even though he's been out for a while, a long time, he's back at a new signing. And even Henderson didn't play in the weekend. And they had a stroke. I think also Chamberlain played. I think if I'm correct.
Chamberlain played.
And he played. And they had
and Keita played in midfield with Milner.
I think so. And Thing was injured as well, wasn't it? Robertson's injured, isn't he? I think and Trent Alexander played very well. I feel Liverpool are back. I did predict them either them or Chelsea to win the league this season, so my prediction's not gone too bad so far.
You know it. You had to choose one though.
I did say Chelsea or I said Liverpool. I said Chelsea or Liverpool.
So we'll hold on to Chelsea. Try and flip it based on results.
But like I feel Liverpool are gonna do well this season. If the players can stay injury free, they'll do well.
So we move from the top of the table, which is all exciting and nice. You know, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool putting in some really good performances. We go down to the bottom of the table. Of course, we got the team red and white, who are somehow out of sight. It's Arsenal. I don't even know where to begin. I think for me that what really concerns me is that a lot of the things I was seeing in pre-season, the overly coached, overly coordinated plays, the heavy reliance on left back, creativity through the left back, and the lack of clinicalness in front of goal, they've all appeared in the first game of the season. Now, it is the first game of the season. It was Brentford, they're newly promoted. They got a brand new stadium, so they had fans back. There's a lot of feel-good factor for them, and I'm not taking away from what they've achieved in that game because that's brilliant. But from an Arsenal point of view, terrible. For you, Matthew, looking at this, I guess the whole situation of Arsenal in general, what do you do? How do you solve it?
Two ways. Which way would you want to go? There's two ways you can go about it. There's two separate ways you can do. And one way is this: very simple, sack your manager. Because I guarantee you don't have bad players, but you just have very confused directions for what he wants. And you hear it from lots of other fans. It's like they say it's like, oh, in training it's this and that. The players are like, oh, they don't know what they're doing or where they're going. Players switching positions, like, you know, he's switching positions like Wenger used to do it. But there's a difference with Wenger and with him.
But one thing I'd add with Arsene Wenger, one of the things that he was bad at was tactics. But on the plus side, what he was really great at is maximizing player quality. So, I mean, the fact that we made top four with Danielson, with the likes of Shamak, with the likes of Park Chu-young, who played a couple games, we have had some diabolical players in key positions, and yet it didn't matter because he understood at the end of the day, you can have a bad defense, we need to score goals. And so he gave the players the confidence and the freedom to just try whatever they wanted to try. And so the issue with Arteta is that, yes, we've had defensive problems and he's tried to strengthen it, but he's almost gone too far the extreme, where it's like you look at him on a touchline and every 5 minutes he's barking out instructions. Like me, when I was playing Thunder League, right, and I had my manager on the side, I wasn't very good, by the way. I was a terrible player, but I played. I'll be honest, I wasn't good. That's why I don't play football no more. That's not my calling. But like, you look at you have your manager on the sideline. I remember when there'll be games when like you made a mistake at the back or the defensive line isn't quite right and he's just shouting at you. And it's like you think we don't know. Like we know. We've let the smallest guy on the pitch out jump us and get a free header in, and the goalkeeper's just saved it. And I'm being serious. It's happened in a match, and he's barking at us like, look at him. He's 5'0". How are you letting him out jump you? But it happens. But having a manager constantly in your ear doesn't really help you at all. And I don't know why he thinks that's the best way to go. And I guess the issue with, you know, his first season when he took over, we had these little drinks breaks. And what I noticed with the team then is that he was very good at tweaking and adjusting things in those little. You used to say it as the game was split into four quarters. You had a 50-minute, you had a water break, 50-minute water break, a halftime break, come back again, 50 minutes, another break, end of the game. So he was able to manage the team throughout these little phases, and he doesn't have that anymore. So it's almost like the little tweaks he was doing now is almost like over the top, over investment and things. And I'm going to come back to you about this in a bit. But Craig, like looking at that Brentford game, how did you feel afterwards?
Angry, upset, disappointed. Do you want to go on?
No, that's enough, really.
I felt I honestly felt that it was so poor. It was like we've gone so backwards. We've gone backwards. When Arteta first came to Arsenal, we were doing well. We won the FA Cup. We won the charity community shield, and I felt that he never progressed. He went backwards. The tactics he did before was working. Then he changed the tactics and they stopped working.
Now, do you think? Because I think what I found really interesting with, which I understand, because he kind of picked a system that was effective for results, and that's not how he wanted to play long term. So I get the change up. My thing is now looking forward. Do you feel as though, because you said a lot at the end of last season is going to be a very big summer for us, the team's going to explode. And looking at him in press conferences since then, he seems very, very kind of shaky and uncertain and depressed almost. Do you feel as though he's given up a little bit?
I honestly feel maybe deep down, I think he feels maybe so far I can take the team. As Matthew said, maybe it might be a time for a change. But I thought even if we do change manager, it's still going to be the same more problems because the owners are not back in.
But would it be though? But would it be? Because I feel like my biggest issue with Arsenal right now is that we're not creating enough chances to score. The fact that Kieran Tierney had the highest number of chances created in the Premier League this weekend. And when you look at what he did, it was just literally run down the wing and whip it in. It was cross and inshallah. That's all it was. But then we don't have a player that can head the ball in. We don't have like Balogun. There's a lot about the performance that's problematic because it's all dependent on everything going perfectly. It's perfectly rehearsed football, and you need certain players with a certain level of technical skill to do that. And we don't have that in the right areas, in the right abundance, or the confidence to try the things he wants. So maybe it's either he needs to revert back to a simplified way of playing football, or just tell the attacking players, look, we'll build it up from the back up until the middle of the park, and then you guys just figure out what you want to do, what you want to do. Just free form, like Pepe, run where you want to run, do whatever, and see what happens.
I honestly feel that I hate when we play at the back. I don't like it at all. I get so nervous. I'm like, if we do this, they're gonna press us, they're gonna score. And every time we did it on Friday, they almost scored. I think Leno's not good at playing the ball out the back. The new defender, Ben White, looked very shaky. I know it was his debut, but he looked very shaky at the back. He didn't look confident next to Pablo Mari. And Pablo Mari is supposed to be the experienced defender. Calvin Chambers didn't have a great game. The goal that they scored was his fault because he tried to clear it, and the guy got it and he scored.
Well, I mean, the clearance isn't too big a problem. My issue is just not closing down.
He never closed the player down, and the guy scored.
But I've noticed that's endemic across the whole back line. There seems to be a thing where it's like they want to maintain distances from players, but they just back off. I feel like they back off too soon. And for me, it's like, we're playing football. This is not a twerk off, right? There's no need for you to be backing up all the time. Like just engage.
Yeah.
You have a thing where this has always been the case. Even when we used to play in the park, the guy's on the ball. What are you going to do? Let him run? No. One of you run towards him. The other one just watch the other guys. It's
and then
basics.
double up. If anything, double up on him. If he's running, just double up on him and then close him down.
But we back up, and then they try and make a tackle in the box, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Because if you make a tackle in the box and you foul him, it's a penalty.
But not only that, because you don't want to foul him, you don't tackle with the right conviction. So you you put in a leg, thinking, I hope I get the ball, and then the player can see that in your body language. And you just tips it around the corner, runs around you, and then away you go. So yeah, there's a lot of problems. At Arsenal.
And we got a big game this weekend, and against Chelsea.
You know what the funny thing is though. We'll
probably beat you.
I was just about to say that. It's always just a thing. You're our bogey team right now. Ignore the preseason thing for just one moment. You're our booger team. I can just see, I don't know if it's going to be a 2-0 or a 1-0, a cheeky little thing, whatever. I don't think it's going to be a straightforward game. I'd rather it would be we just go run out and win. But even if we do win, I can see you guys scoring something. Whether you guys score first, you equalize, or as a consolation. Yeah. I just want to say the last few times I said that we were going to win and we haven't. Yeah. I've learned to keep my mouth shut on that one. So yeah, I'm
but the thing is, even if we do win on Sunday, it's just going to paper over cracks anyway. There's still internal issues at the club. Like Aubameyang never played on Friday. Lacazette never played on Friday. We're hearing that both of them were ill. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I think there's more to the story, but they're not being told.
Yeah, there was a thing where it came up where the game was almost called off. The Brentford game because of a fear of like a COVID outbreak at the Arsenal. I don't know why they haven't officially just said what the issue is and why they're keeping it behind closed doors. That's a bit strange. But there is a possibility that it could be a COVID thing. Why they haven't announced it, I don't know.
Yeah.
How the manager's talking about it is a bit weird. But, you know, we've known all summer that Lacazette's been surplus to requirements and they've been looking at trying to shift him out. I feel like in as much as he suits the way we play, I don't think he scores anywhere near enough goals as a striker for a team with the ambitions Arsenal have. That's the first point. For a team with Arsenal's history, he's not been good enough. Maro and Shamak was a better striker for Arsenal than Lacazette, and that says a lot for me to say that. That's saying a lot. Like, Olivier Giroud comfortably is a better striker than Lacazette, but Maro and Shamak for me offered more for the team. Lacazette, they say he does the hold up play, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't have the lung capacity to do that and then get in the box. So it's like pick a battle. Pick a battle.
That, yeah.
And what I don't like, and which he does really well, which he stopped doing, is his play in the box used to be so good. Remember there's a game against Liverpool when he picked the ball up off, like Alisson was coming for it. He just took the ball away from Alisson, swiveled and then just bent it around in all in that quick motion. I was like, where's that guy gone? You know,
he can do it.
Even a game against Cardiff when the ball got played into the box and he took one touch to control it and then smashed it into the roof of the net to score.
He can do it.
So he's got it, but
I think he's muscled up too much. He's muscled up, and he's not mobile, and he's not mobile enough anymore like I used to be. When he first came, he was very slim and he was quite fit.
He's getting older as well.
Yeah,
I think
he's near 30. He's 30, you know?
He's nearly 30.
he's nearly 30.
Because Aubameyang's 32.
Yeah. So obviously now we have to replace those two in the future, maybe sooner rather than later.
That's true.
And can we afford to buy a top class striker? And what top strikers available?
I think the biggest thing is like it comes down to investment, and we've known for just excluding what everyone else did this summer, we knew that money needs to be spent in the right way, and we've paid money for players. Ben White will come good. I'm not really too worried about him. We're also looking at Ramsdale still. We're haggling over the money there. Ødegaard is rumoured. We're trying to negotiate with Real Madrid to get that done. There's also talk about Maddison, which that could be paper talk. I don't believe it. I think that's just too unrealistic. We could do it, but will the owners pay that amount? I don't know. My big thing is they need to get a lot of these deals done before the season started, not now. When the minute Partey went down injured, you should have just gotten these deals done. Just pay the money, get them done, because nothing like that. We've not really improved the squad. Like I like Lokonga, I like Tavares, I like what they represent longer term, but in the here and now, we haven't really strengthened our first 11.
We haven't. No.
So yeah, it's a big concern. But I'm going to talk about something more positive. And it's not about Chelsea, Liverpool, or Manchester City. Man City lost, but we're not going to cover them. We just don't really care. You know, they'll go out and they'll pay the money for Kane, and they'll be fine. Paris Saint-Germain, my second club, team that the team I've been following. I really enjoyed their game this weekend. I watched the whole thing. They only won 3-2. They went 3-0 up, and then they got very complacent. And there was a lot of talk about who would, you know, because Ramos didn't play and other players didn't play, so who was going to get back into the starting 11 and whatever. I think it's going to be a very fun season for them. I'm hoping Mbappe decides to stay and doesn't decide to move. But, you know, watching them and how they unveiled all their 5 new signings was really nice. There's a very good feel-good atmosphere there in Paris. I think Messi is going to be very, very happy. Because I was watching him in the stands, he was sat with Pastore at one point, then he was sat with Neymar, and they both looked. You know when you're like, it's like Freshers Week, and it's exciting, and you're just like, I've arrived. This is my place. This is where I'm living. This is my people. This is the shops. I'm ready. That student loan drops in your account. Hey, I'm gonna, you know that feeling. That's what it looked like. So I guess looking over to what they've done, and I guess in terms of like wider transfers and stuff for you, Matthew, looking at what Paris Saint-Germain have done, that kind of feel-good feeling. And of course, you guys have now officially confirmed Lukaku, and he's ready to go for the derby at the weekend. What's your kind of take on just that going forward, Paris Saint-Germain and where it all fits?
Go give them credit. You've got to give this team credit, or this culture credit, because they're effectively backed by a nation, and they know exactly what they want. They don't have the Jordan symbol on their shirt for nothing. You see people wearing that shirt, they probably couldn't even name any player on the team. They probably probably didn't even know that Ronaldinho played for them once, or Arteta played for them once, or anything like that. But that's what I'm saying about before the whole Pogba thing. Football's almost like a fashion, it's like a brand. And there's never been a better example of that of PSG. The Messi shirts, I think I saw a queue in Paris of the Messi shirts flying out of the store. He's in Paris. You're in Paris anyway, a very fashionable city. The French are known for their drip, they're known for their clothes, they're known for their wear, they're known about looking good, and I just think it's the only logical place he could have gone. They're the only team that can afford him, and for their ambitions on the pitch, getting that Champions League, dominating Liga A, it's from a business point of view, from looking at that lucrative kind of deal, it's perfect. It really, really is perfect. And it's one of the reasons why he loves football. I know he's paid. He's not overpaid. Come on, I know he's Messi. He's not overpaid. He's Messi. That's the only answer I need to give. It's great. It can only, until Chelsea have to play with him in the Champions League, then it's not great. But yeah, it's Paris. Clearly, Paris is one of the places to be. That's where the money is now. Paris and apparently England. La Liga is now surplus to requirements because there's no headline. What Hazard, Depay.
Well, but for me, Benzema is still Benzema.
Benzema. But I don't see many Benzema shirts. I do see Messi. But I just think it's the deal got done so quick. You're umming and ahhing over Ramsdale, PSG, Barca, done. In, boom, done. No messing around. Ambition. So the only two things is this. One, how is Pochettino going to handle that ego? Because you just said that they're a bit complacent on their first game.
It was weird to see. I've never seen a team go so close to throw. Like, it was a party atmosphere. They went 3-0 up, and you're thinking they're going to get 6. It's going to be 7.
Yeah.
And then opposition scored 1. They pulled one back. You thought, okay, it's now interesting. They went to 3-2, and I thought, oh, they're not gonna spoil the party, are they? And Paris Saint-Germain held on to win 3-2. But yeah, it was interesting. And you're right. In the ego management is going to be very important. And I guess over to you, Craig, because I know there was a lot of talk at the time of Pochettino potentially coming to Arsenal, and we went the budget option of Arteta, and we really went from potentially getting Waitrose to getting Lidl. I like Lidl, don't get me wrong. Lidl are banging, but this man is like Lidl value. It's not feeling it at all. So for you, looking at Pochettino and what he can do and needs to do, what would you say is going to be an important marker for him? I know we've said Champions League last time around is important, but what would you say he needs to kind of focus on for this season?
He needs to make sure they don't concede too many. He needs to make sure they do them, because last season they could have won it in the last day of the season and they blew it. So he needs to be consistent, and he needs to win trophies. As simple as that. They employed him to win trophies. Last season they didn't do well at all winning trophy wise, and I feel that with PSG, with the players that they have to win everything this season, or else goodbye.
Yeah, and Messi's got a 2-year contract to 2025, so
and an option to a third year.
It's a 2-year deal, so he's not like, it's a very smart way of doing it, keeping him a couple of seasons, see how it goes. Obviously the big push is going to be on Europe and stuff, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, they've made the final in recent years. They were very unlucky in that game. They just didn't really perform as well as I was hoping. I really wanted them to win.
Against the Bayern final.
I really wanted them to win.
Mbappe was not there that year.
But it's just the way it goes sometimes. I guess to wrap up, like, our guest for this episode of the podcast, we've of course talked about the highs and the lows. We've got obviously the teams that are challenging at the top. The ones that we expect to be where they are there, minus Man City. Obviously Tottenham beat them. It's Tottenham, so there's not really much to say about that, really. I mean, hopefully, let me not be biased. Hopefully they will do okay by their standards, and what that means is they'll finish somewhere in the top 6 and they won't win a trophy. But looking at the relegation candidates and the early days, obviously right now the bottom 3 are Crystal Palace, Norwich and Leeds. Arsenal were in there, but by the grace of God we have escaped. Who do you think is going to be down there for this season, and who's going to drop out of the league? I'll start with you, Craig.
Well, I think Leeds got second season, and normally second season syndrome. Always said in the first season they do well, second season they struggle. But I think Leeds should have enough players to be okay. Aston Villa should be okay. I think Norwich will definitely go down because they're like fast track bullies. They're good in the Championship. When they come to the Premier League, I am worried about Crystal Palace. I am a bit worried about because they lost so many experienced players. But I feel
I think they let them go, didn't they? It's a contract because all those players that left is end of contract.
Yeah, on the contract, a lot of the players left. So I see what Vieira was trying to do with trying to build a young team. But I'm worried about them. I'm worried. But there must be other. I think there's other teams worse than Crystal Palace that might go down. Okay. I think Brentford might do well because they got some good players in their team. They'll do well. I feel Wolves might struggle this season. I know because last season they struggled when Jimenez was out for a long time. They really struggled. I think it's by a thread by the net, but they were near the relegation.
I think they were flirting around that. Yeah. But I think they finished for the first time since they've been back in the Premier League in the bottom half. I think they're like 13th or something. Yeah. And they lost their manager as well. And a lot of other players like Jota's gone, Doherty's gone, Rui Patricio.
Yeah, he's gone to Roma.
He's gone to Roma. Yeah. So,
and I feel that there's another team I'm worried about as well. Burnley haven't made any major signings this summer. And I feel like, I know they got a good manager in Sean Dyche, that he always seems to find a way, but I feel this season the league's going to get even tougher this season. And I feel every season the Premier League gets tougher and tougher because every club in the Premier League buys players and they haven't bought anyone. And I feel like if you don't buy anybody and you get dragged away, you if you don't start winning matches, you'll struggle. I think Brighton will be okay because Brighton always seems... Like on Saturday, I think it was Saturday they play against Burnley. And I predicted that Burnley would win. I got it wrong.
Brighton play good football though.
Yeah, they play good football.
Brighton play some really good football.
And they just sold Ben off 50 million, so they got money in the bank. They can go and buy some new players if they need to. So
it's a fair point. And for you, Matthew, who would you say is your... I mean, I know we weren't going to do this now, but who would you say is your three that might make the drop?
Norwich already. I know they got Billy Gilmore and a few other players in there, Conor Gallagher. I don't just know the Chelsea players. I know other players.
No, that's fair.
But they have got rid of Buendia.
Yeah.
Got Buendia. Timu Pukki is a championship striker. He had that one good spell the first time they came around, but he really fell off towards the end. I think Norwich will go down 18th, 19th, or 20th. Take your pick. Burnley, I think the luck's run out. I think the luck could run out. Dyche is a good manager. They've had faith of him, but I think that kind of football is slowly is dying out. But Bolton, hoof up the top. Stoke, hoof up the top. Cannot stand it in the Premier League. You look at teams like Wolves. Look at teams like Leeds. Look at teams like even Brighton. With the football, it's good football, even at that lower end of the table. They can't keep doing that anymore. They really, really can't. I think Southampton. I think their time's running. I think Southampton, the sugar babes of football, chopping and changing and still managed to find a way from when they came back in the Premier League. I think players like Van Dijk, players like Mane, players like Wanyama, players like Lallana, players like
Danny Ings,
players like Graziano Pella, Vestergaard. They're all from Fraser Foster, who came from a winning Celtic,
and Bertrand,
all from South. Yeah. They were Southampton players once, and going back as far as
did you say Lallana?
Lallana, he was there, and going back as far as Bale, and go further back that from Alan Shearer. They've had talent, but I just think they lost Bertrand. They lost Vestergaard. Ings has gone, which is a big. I think it's a big loss. I can see them. I think their time's run out, which is a shame because I do like them as a club and a team. Like local lovely place, Southampton. By the way, you should really go try and before the summer ends. I think their time is up, but I also think that other clubs are going to be, I think the obvious candidates, Brentford, there's a small club coming into the big time. They could be flirting around it. I don't think they will get relegated, but I think they're going to be circling. I think Leeds will be closer, like Craig said, Leeds will be closer, but it kind of depends on the approach they take. If their chaotic approach actually bears fruit. I think Newcastle as well. Don't let the signing of Willock think they've solved all of their problems. They've still got problems. You think the only club have problems? They got problems. A club that size should not be where they are, and it's their ambition. If you were a Premier League an owner, a big time billionaire, to buy a club and bring them back to some kind of a better position. Me personally, I pick Newcastle. Easiest decision. I think they'll be flirting. I think Brighton will just. It's unfortunate for them because they do everything right but score.
Yeah.
Everything right but score. I think they'll be there too. So yeah, my main three: Norwich, Burnley, Southampton.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I'll share my three next week.
Okay.
I'll share it the next because I want to see one more game week before I start looking at. Because I'm going to have a close look at some of the games and just look at the way how teams perform and small things, kind of get a better feel for who I'd put down there as the ones who are going to be under threat. But I think that this will do for this week's episode. Thanks everyone for jumping on. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Craig.
Peace.
Malachi on the cameras again. Yes. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any takes, any thoughts, any opinions that you would like to share with us, please do let us know. Either DM us at Eightseven.uk on Instagram. You can hit us up on Twitter as well at Eightseven.uk. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, just drop a comment in the comment section and let us know what you think about this episode. And if you're watching or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you may find it, please do rate this podcast 5 stars. Or if you don't like it, rate it 4 stars and leave a comment as to what you think. And most importantly of all, what are your opinions on this coming season? Who are you backing for top goal scorer? What do you think is going to happen next? Thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of the week. And we're out.
Peace.
Hey.